So let's get into, something that is true to my heart when it comes to, playing football in Europe and how we do things here is the whole professional versus semi-professional like debate. Just kind of get into it and tell us your thoughts on it about how, obviously there is no professional football in Europe. And I don't want to hear whatever anybody want to say about the new league just popping up and all that. But as a player, if you're paid to play the sport, you take it as you're a professional. And my real question is like, what are your thoughts on that whole like professional playing in a semi-professional atmosphere? Like, what do you think it entails, and how do you view it?
Uh, I would say that, I guess it's definitely a tough topic to talk about.
Yeah,
Like you
it's
said,
it's large. Sorry.
it's like you're professional in the sense that you're getting paid to play. You're here playing in your city. Sorry, you're here to play the sport. So you're technically a professional in that sense. However, you have the guys that are there who work 9 to 5 and then come and play for the love of the sport. So as an import or a paid player, as you were talking about, you definitely have to take it professional. You got to, work out, watch film, coach up the players, make them get better, try and bring their level up to the next level. And I feel like as an import, you should definitely take everything serious because, like you said, if you're just messing around and not really, if you're like going out all the time and not really caring about the sport, then they'll send you home. They'll have no problem with that because, like, for them as the organization,
First flight.
Europe, exactly, yeah,
that red eye. First flight back home.
as a paid player from the organization's point of view, like they're paying you to play the sport. Obviously, the pay in America is not really comparable to, like, let's say, a real salary in America. However, like that salary that they're giving you is a good salary for like where you're playing usually most of the time. So you got to take it serious and like treat it as a profession. So I think that from that aspect, paid players are professional because, again, they can cut you whenever they want. And if you're not performing, if maybe you're hurt for too long, like they're gonna like send you home because there's no reason for them to be paying you to sit on the sidelines just to watch the team play. So I feel like from that aspect, yes. In the other aspect, yeah, it's not really professional because not everyone is getting paid, and like they might not have the same expectations from everyone on the team as you. And I feel like it's not sometimes not really fair for the import because they're held to this standard here, and like those other guys that aren't paid maybe are held to a little lower standard here because they have a job, they have a family, they have a lifestyle besides football. Football's just their love, and they're doing it for just for like for fun. And I feel like from that aspect, it's not really like comparable. Honestly, now me working a full-time job and playing on top of that, like I do get to see how much time like these guys put in, because to be honest, like working a full day and then going to practice at night, like it's draining. Like you're not really like, if you're just an import, you got nothing to do all day. You can go to the gym whenever you want. You can do whatever you want from whenever you wake up until maybe practice at 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock. Like you can watch film, you can do whatever you want. But you got a job, you got to wake up 9 to 6, you're working. Then boom, you eat dinner, maybe get a little stretch in, a little workout because you've been sitting down all day, and then you go to practice. Then it's like, all right, like my body's kind of drained because I've been putting in the 8 hours of work all day. And now I got to go change from like the professional lifestyle of working. Now I got to go put on my football mentality and go show out on the field. But obviously, again, the whole import, non-import, professional, non-professional, like me doing both, like I still need to perform at a high level while playing. Otherwise, like they're like, look, you're not performing, and we gotta let you go, whatever. Because you're here to play football, to be professional, to be at that level. If you're not performing at that level, they might say, hey, we gotta move on from you. So I think that like you still have to take it as a profession, regardless of if you want to call it semi-professional or a professional sport.
Yeah, it's tricky because it's like the organizations, they will treat us as if we were professionals. They are investing in us, they're paying us, so on and so forth. And I feel like the best way to put it is that we have to be professional about our responsibilities to the team and the organization. Obviously, as you mentioned, develop the youth program with coaching, and when it comes to game planning, and make sure we're doing our responsibilities in terms of training and stuff like that. So I think in that sense, yeah, we have to be professional about our responsibilities, but it's kind of like that blur line is like, is it really professional, or is it's not really professional? It's a conversation that you could go back and forth on all day about.
I think
it's honestly tough to answer that question.
Yeah,
because,
it's super tough.
So many different ways to look at it. Yeah.
I think it's just a conversation to be had. It's really tough to say, okay, you're a professional, or oh, you're semi-professional. But I think you hit it on the head, Luke, when you said, if you're import or if you're paid, you don't necessarily have to be imported to be paid. We know some of these domestic players are getting paid if they're that good. If you're being paid, you're expected to be at this level. And if you're not being paid, maybe you're not expected to be at that level, but you're expected to be committed. Your commitment is kind of everybody's commitment to the goals is what has to be aligned. I think one where the misconnect is sometimes between paid and unpaid players is that well, I got a 9 to 5, I got 2 kids, and I got to do all this, so sometimes I'm not going to be able to be here. Well, then don't play.
Yeah,
like that's how I feel about it. Me personally, I've played semi-pro in the States. Like I had a 9 to 5, and then I had to go to practice and show up for games. And whenever it came to a situation where I was like, I can't keep doing this, I would tell the team, like, I'm not going to play anymore, because why would I, not be committed when that's all I have to do is be committed. Here you have a disconnect between that commitment sometimes, and you'll see the difference in teams too. Teams that have players that are committed, teams like Milano Seamen, Swarco Raiders, Kalana Broncos, they have a few paid players, but they have a large domestic base where those players are playing at a high level because they're committed to the sport. In their free
and those
time,
players are and those players are not to mean cut you off, but those players are the foundation of those teams. So obviously, with us, coming in is being able to build on that foundation that those teams already have with those players.
Yeah, I think
right, because at any moment you can change them. Like you said, if you're bouncing around from team to team, like your team is only going to be as good as your domestic players are. Because if you've got committed players and they have that foundation, then you can up that level of the level of play for that team. If not, then it's kind of like freestyling. But again, based on that question, like if I'm like back home in New York, and like someone's like, oh, so you play professional football in Europe? I'm like, yes and no. It's like, I'm a paid player, but like it's not a real professional league. That's how I explain to like people in America, like, of what I do. Like it's like,
it's like you're a professional
kind
player,
but not really, because like I'm a player, but like but everyone else kind of has their 9 to 5, has their family, and then like they go and play for luck. So that's how I kind of break it down.
I think also that's something that needs to be addressed to the domestic players that are paid as well. I've I mess around and talk to a little bit of everybody, and I've seen a trend of domestic players who are getting paid, and people are like, oh, well, you're not an import. Well, just because you're not imported doesn't mean you're not professional. Like if you are getting paid, then you have to play at a certain level, and that should be respected. I think that's my main point. I think that's what I was getting at, is that if you're a professional, it should be taken as, you are a professional. And there's a difference between someone who's volunteering their time and someone who's getting paid for their time. And if you're getting
100%.
paid for your time, you should act accordingly as a professional. And if you know someone who's getting paid for their time, treat them as someone who's getting paid for their time. If someone's getting paid for their time, don't try to, shit on what they're doing by saying, oh, you're not professional. That's just me just airing out my grievances, I guess.
No, for sure. Because again, at the end of the day, they're being brought to that team to play football. So technically they are, a professional player, but they're not, like you said, imported into the country because they're from that country. So like they kind of got, I guess, a benefit, because like their skills are that good where teams think that they're worth being professional, and they don't have to, go to a different country, but they can just stay in their home country and just, maybe hop to a different team because that team wants their services, because they're worth it. So I think that's a good point that you're making there.
Yeah, I think that's all I had. I was just trying to get that out. I don't know. It's just something that it always on my mind. With the whole, the money switching hands. Some teams, some organizations are more professional as well. But even if the organization is one of the worst and aren't, the players aren't professional at all. If you're getting paid, you're a professional. You have to act accordingly.
Yeah.
But also, professionals need to be treated as professionals. So it's a dicey subject, but it's something that we wanted to talk about. Just wanted to kind of get your feel on it with you being, in those different situations, and now being on the other side, it's even easier for you to, see both sides of it. It's a two-sided street that we're trying to all meet in the middle on. I think that if we do, it's going to be great going forward, especially for, like new leagues like the new ELF coming up where there's revenue going from teams to teams, and some players are paid, some players are not, but ultimately they want to, have that professional feel to it. I think if we can all kind of agree on, if you're getting paid, you're a professional. If you're not getting paid, you need to have the commitment that everyone has at least, and everything will work out.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's all I had. Did you have anything else?
Yeah. No, I'll say just like I said, like having, getting to see both sides of like the scoop. Like, at first when I first started playing, that wasn't working. So it's like, all right, like, why is X, Y, and Z not coming to practice? Like, they're starters. Like we need them at practice in order for us to like start clicking better. And then it's like now you fast forward, you're working and playing. It's like, all right, like I kind of understand why X, Y, and Z didn't come to practice. Maybe they had a long day at work. Maybe they had, family problems at home and they really couldn't make the practice. So like, yeah, you want them to be committed, but then in a sense, you got to kind of like look beyond the football part of it and like say, like they're putting their commitment in when they can, and they do all that they can to be committed. But like sometimes like this, they really just can't be there. And I think
of course, obviously, I'm not trying to like pigeonhole. Say, I think that's the thing I think that's the thing that has to be agreed upon. It's like, okay, as a professional player, your commitment is you better be at every practice because that's why you're here. You better do this, this, and this. As a player, to match that commitment level, we need you to say, okay, I'm going to make this amount of practices. When I can't make practice, I'm going to, be accountable. I'm going to let you know in a decent amount of time. I'm going to make sure I can make it up somehow if I need to. Like if there's a situation we can work out, if I can't make practice, but I was going to go to the gym on my way to go pick up my kid, that's me being accountable, even though I'm not at the practice. And that's still a high level of commitment. And that's something that there's, I don't know. I know you guys, y'all played on great teams. I've played on some shitty teams. So I've seen how bad it can be. And the difference between some of the good and the bad teams is that simple level of commitment of having those domestic players say, hey, I know this isn't my job. I'm doing this because I love the game, but I'm only doing this because I know that I can commit to a level to make sure that we as an organization and as a team can develop, grow, and thrive together. Have you checked out K Noah's ready-to-wear collection? It's K Noah's top-notch quality, but it's teamwear made custom for you and your team, so you can rep your squad now. That's it for us today on The Scoop, keeping the locker room real. Brought Luke Zahradka in today. Appreciate you coming in, man. Just want to tell you personally that we love watching you do what you do, man. Your career, I've been watching it pretty much since 2013, since you've been international, and I've enjoyed having these conversations with you. And just personally want to let you know that, we wish you the best on the season that you're having, but we also wish you best in your life pursuits. One thing that we're trying to do with the Scoop here is let people know that we're more than just athletes, and you're the embodiment of that. You just showed us in the conversations we had today. You've become that international, not international player, that international person. And that's great that you're doing that, man. Just glad to have you here talking to us today. Any last words you want to say, any shout outs or anything before we get out of here?
No, I just want to say, thanks for having me on. First episode, it's always an honor to be the first guest onto podcast, and I appreciate you and Jamal having me on here, and appreciate everything that you guys, all the compliments, and yeah, just for anyone who wants to play football in Europe, I mean, give it a go, and just enjoy every minute, because there's only so much time that you can play football, and I'll keep playing until that I feel like that I don't got something to give, and then I have to move on to the next chapter, So thanks so much, and I appreciate it.
Jamal, you got any last words, my man?
Nah, man, just wanted to say, appreciate you having Noah. I know, we met a couple years ago, and just to see you still out there, still doing your thing, man. It's exciting, and it's exciting to be on the other side watching, and we appreciate you. I'm sure it's not gonna be the last time we chatted up.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure that soon enough I'll be back on the side of you guys too. So
all right, guys. Thanks for watching the show on YouTube or listening to it on the podcast outlet. There's like 2,500 of those you can listen to it on. Be sure to subscribe to Athletes Forum YouTube channel or American Football in Finland's podcast channel to catch the scoop each week in both video and audio format. You can also follow us on Twitter at The Scoop AF, or on Instagram at Athletes Forum, or on Facebook at Athletes Forum. Also, don't forget to read the description below, where you'll have a chance to win K Noah Teamwear swag provided by, K Noah, the best of the best out here. Be sure to follow the instructions on the bottom of the screen, or read the instructions for the podcast channels. All right. We'll see you next week.